Hello, hello, and welcome, adventurers. How are you? This is going to be a fun one. It's going to be a good time, guys. It's going to be really interesting. I'm not completely sure. We're going to kind of just make it up as we go along as far as the exact format. But how are you? Welcome. And it's another one of our Slant Alpha adventures. A little bit of a unique one. We've got some folks to say hi to right off the bat here. St. Rock is here, Mesnack, and Captain VFR. And yeah, still very good. Thank you guys for stopping in, saying hello. We got Qual here. Good morning from London. Good evening from not London, from west of London. We got Not JK with the subscription renewal. Very cool, guys. Very cool, guys. Let me turn this music down. This is a couple broadcasts in a row. I've forgotten to turn it down over the intro. What the heck am I doing? Losing my touch here. All right, very good. Thanks for the video, by the way. Says St. Rock. Absolutely, man. Well, as I said in the St. Rock is referring to a little congratulatory video. He's decided to step down from a 3-year tenure as the events coordinator for VATSTAR, and it's topical tonight since we're going to be discussing this check ride that I performed about a week and a half ago for VATSTAR. But yeah, so St. Rock is the VATSTAR events coordinator, or soon to be was, the VATSTAR events coordinator, Edward Frisch. And so I did a little congratulatory video that you may have seen on VATSTAR's social media, and then Alejandro compiled one of the various handful of folks that had given some nice words of congratulations for a job well done, and then we posted ours right here on our YouTube channel as well, so you might have seen that. But anyway, yeah, I appreciate you being here, and like I said, it's perfectly topical for you to be here tonight. What we're going to do tonight is a little bit different. We're going to be playing back a recorded flight stream. Well, I guess I shouldn't say stream, a recorded flight. Well, we're going to stream it now, so it's going to be a recorded flight stream that we're going to play back for you now and stream it. And this was performed about a week and a half ago. For my P3 check ride for VATSTAR, a VATSIM authorized pilot training organization. We got Swatius checking in, and St. Rock says I got to pass my P3 also. That's why I'm here. Yeah, this will be a good preview for any of you that are considering doing that P3 with VATSTAR. And as a matter of fact, my examiner for it was the man who took over my position when I stepped down as the Chief Flight Instructor. Tomas Hansson. Now, I'm going to cut short the background because I go through that in the video that I'm about to play for you. Because what I'm going to do afterward, we're going to kind of live critique it, and at times I will be in the text chat with you, the stream chat, and at times I will pop in and talk to you. Maybe pause the video and talk to you about what we've seen and what just happened. There will definitely be a few moments where I think we can kind of discuss pros and cons of what happened and what should have happened. So we'll kind of just play that by ear as far as when I'll be kind of chatting along with you and when I'll stop and we can discuss, and I'll pop my head in here. But for the most part, what you'll be seeing is me dressed as I was a week and a half ago when I performed this last week ago Saturday morning for Thomas. But anyway, yeah, I go into the backstory of what VATSTAR is and how it came to be and what my role was there. So I'll save that for the intro that I'm about to perform. But what I was getting at was, after tonight's stream, of course, I've got to wait 24 hours. As a Twitch affiliate, I have to leave the video on demand on Twitch only for the first 24 hours. But then early Friday morning, it will post to our YouTube channel. But I will post both this version, the streamed version, with the commentary that we're about to provide, as well as the clean version, the recording that you're about to see, without the stream chat overlay and all that stuff. So you'll have those of you who are, again, interested in performing that P3, you'll have either the one with our commentary and critique and roasting, or without. So we'll get started with the video in just a couple moments. Some housekeeping stuff for the channel. If you are new to the channel, we do 2 monthly giveaways starting this month. We had a monthly giveaway that we've been doing for 6 or 7 months now. And oh, by the way, did I say Not JK? Yeah, Not JK has resubscribed for 7 months. I don't know if I said that. I said hello to you. I don't think I acknowledged that, and I thank you very much for your support. And as a matter of fact, it's the subscriptions and donations and cheer bits and merchandise sales that support the raffles that I'm about to describe to you, because we like I said, we don't do this as a living or even a side income. This is all just for fun, and the support that you provide to the stream comes back to you in the form of these raffles. So yeah, I know I said hello, JK, but I'm not sure if I said thank you for that subscription. But either way, happy to have you here and happy to have your continued support. So there, we've said it all now. Down with Tim is here. So this is a great idea for a stream. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, I deliberately didn't want to live stream the check ride. I feel that would be too distracting. And when I discussed with Tomas Hansson, he agreed that A, would it be too distracting, but B, that he and I have a history and probably would end up talking about personal things and stuff. And so he wanted me to have a chance to edit that stuff out. And the video that you're about to see is edited down somewhat from the way it was performed last Saturday. So you'll see there'll be a few spots where it kind of jumps forward. The two raffles I was alluding to a moment ago, the one that we've had for a while now is the one that's associated with those Twitch Alphabets points, those channel points, Twitch channel points that you're earning just by virtue of hanging out with us. At the bottom of that chat panel, you got the Alphabets icon, a little button that tells you how many points you have. If you get up to 1,000 of those points, cash them in for a raffle ticket into our monthly drawing. If you want to save up for 5,000, that's an opportunity to get a bonus entry, 6 for the price of 5. And this month we're making that drawing on June 23rd. Wednesday the 23rd is when we'll be making that drawing. Mesnak just redeemed. How do you get the pilot check rides? Adam, you would sign up for VATSTAR.com, and they can kind of walk you through the process over there. There's some written training material that you will go through, some videos you can watch, and then a multiple choice test that you'll have to pass. And then once you've done that, you can schedule with them a practice check ride and the actual check ride. Yeah, there you go. There's the link, www.vatstar.com. They're Adam Aviation Geek, and so that's the organization that I was Chief Flight Instructor of for a while, and now Mr. Tomas Hansson is, and of course, like I said, I'll go into the backstory in the beginning of the other video. Dave MSP checking in as well. So that's the first raffle. As we talked about that Twitch channel points raffle, the Alphabets raffle. Let's go ahead and get Mr. Mesnak his ticket that he just asked for redemption of before I forget. Of course, the Twitch saves those little redemption things, so it doesn't really let me forget. I have a little checklist. I can check that one off now because I've done it. It doesn't deduct your points until I've actually acknowledged through that little panel there, that pop-up panel, that I've done it. So we'll go ahead and get it now. All right, and Sergeant Rock. We got Saint Rock and Sergeant Rock. We got a pair of rocks here. Sergeant Rock checking in. Thank you very much. The second raffle that we do on this channel, this is new for this month, is you enter the raffle by being the most accurate predictor of our vertical descent rate upon touchdown. So what we often call landing rate for short. So pop-up stats window is going to come up on the screen when I perform any landing on the channel, and it'll tell you what the vertical descent rate was at the moment that the wheels touched. Yeah, St. Rock is spelled the wrong way there. So the pop-up window will show you what the descent rate was at the moment the wheels touched. Kind of gives you an indication of how firm or gentle the landing was. We'll solicit your predictions prior to that touchdown, and whoever is the closest in either direction, not without going over blah blah blah, not Price is Right, but whoever is, yeah, this is not Price is Right, but we do occasionally play this sound. That's the wrong one. There we go. So it's not the Price is Right rules, but the closest one in either direction will get an entry into our second raffle. Again, we'll pull the winner of that on June 23rd, and so there you go. The beauty of it tonight is that it is a recorded stream, but the pop-up window did activate on the landings. I believe there's two landings in the performance of this check ride, so we'll have two opportunities to get an entry in, and the beauty of tonight is I can actually pause it as we're getting close to touchdown, and you guys can all have a chance to put predictions in based on what you're seeing right there on Short Final. So you have a little bit of a better, maybe, because I know the results. A little bit of a possibly better chance to judge what you're seeing on screen and what you think uh, the touchdown rate will end up being. So, yeah, that's all I'll say about that. But we'll have a little bit more of an opportunity to do that tonight than we normally do, even though this is a recorded stream. None of you guys have seen those yet. Juggly is here as well. All right, let's get to it, guys. Like I said, now we're going to go ahead and get the video started. You'll notice I'm dressed in red tonight, so if you see me dressed in red, then that is me speaking to you live. What you're going to see in the corner of the screen here is me speaking to you in the recording, and in the recording I'm wearing blue. So blue is recorded, red is live, and hope that you all enjoy our P3 check ride for VATSTAR.com. Hello and welcome to a special edition of Slant Alpha Adventures, coming to you from Astoria, Oregon, in the Pacific Northwest. And today's going to be a special edition because it is going to be my P3 practice check ride for VATSTAR, a training organization and authorized flight training organization that is functioning within the VATSIM community. To give you kind of a full picture of what's going to go on today, I got to give you some background information. VATSTAR was founded in 2015 by Alejandro Caballero. He had done a previous VATSIM pilot training organization that had functioned for a little while, and it had fallen victim to some website issues, technical problems. I believe there was some sort of unauthorized access, and whoever had perpetrated it had done some damage to the databases and such. So we wound up having to close it down. So he did some self-education on website security and rebranded it as VATSTAR. When he was about to relaunch it, he needed a partner. He was very much a airline pilot on VATSIM, as many are, kind of the Magenta Line A to B type pilots. But he wanted to partner with somebody that had a little bit more well-rounded pilot experience on VATSIM that would enable him to expand his training offerings from what at the time was just the P1 and P2, but he wanted to offer the additional pilot ratings that were available at that time under the original VATSIM pilot rating structure, P1 through P5. P1 was kind of the original intro to VATSIM, VATSIM etiquette, how to connect kind of rating. P2 was kind of a basic IFR flight, and that's what he offered in his original version. And then P3 was a VFR flying rating. P4 rather, was a introductory or beginning IFR, and P5 was kind of more an advanced IFR. And those were typically more general aviation oriented, although P4 kind of airline and GA applicable, but P3 in particular and P5 were both kind of more general aviation oriented, and it just was outside of Alejandro's area of expertise. Now, he introduced me to him as Alex. He used the name Alex. I think he goes more by Alejandro now, but I tend to call him Alex. So if I call him Alex, it's not out of disrespect. It's just how he introduced himself to me back when we first started talking in 2015. So he and I got together in 2015, and I came on and created essentially from scratch a brand new set of training and testing material for the P1 and P2, and then eventually by 2016 we had expanded that all the way through the P5. And then he handled all of the website stuff and all of the membership stuff, the exam center, the online exam center, and the records keeping and all that stuff. So his expertise was developing the website and the membership and the PR, and my expertise was developing the training and testing material. And then I also, for the first few years of its existence, oversaw the training staff of VATSTAR. So that was, I did that for 3 years, and We became very successful, one of the most active and successful ATOs on the network. One of the first instructors that we took on, in fact, I think it was the second instructor that we took on very early in VATSTAR's existence, and was a gentleman that hailed from Eastern Canada and had been a long-standing member of VATSIM, much longer than myself even, and had been involved as the air traffic manager of at least one of the Canadian FIRs. I know he had extensive experience in Vancouver FIR in Canada, and possibly one other one. I feel like it was more than one, but I don't remember exactly which FIRs he was involved with. I know that he was involved with Vancouver. But again, he was someone who had much more well-rounded experience in flying on VATSIM, more so than just airliners. And matter of fact, had and I presume still has a real-world private pilot's license in Canada. And his name is Tomas Hansson. And when I decided to step down from VATSTAR in 2018, Thomas was by far the most senior instructor that we had on staff, and was very eager and willing to take over the reins of the Chief Flight Instructor position from me in the late stages of 2018. I had stepped down in an interest of spending a little bit more of my time developing what became this live stream, Slant Alpha Adventures. So Thomas has been and remains the Chief Flight Instructor ever since that point, and will be my instructor this morning for the P3. I mentioned that VATSIM had restructured its pilot ratings, and probably one of the first big projects that Thomas took on as the Chief Flight Instructor of VATSTAR was to adjust VATSTAR's course material accordingly. So originally, as I mentioned before, the P1 was kind of an introductory VATSIM etiquette course almost. It didn't even really require any flying. It was mostly just some education about how to connect to the network, how to figure out which controllers are online and who to speak to, an explanation of the whole top-down philosophy thing, some etiquette things about where you can, where you can and cannot spawn and connect to the network, just some various how to handle weather and scenery differences and things like that. So very kind of what to do and what not to do on VATSIM type course. That has since become what they're now calling the P0, or the entry exam that is required to pass and activate your VATSIM membership. Didn't used to be required, used to be an optional thing, used to be called the original P1. Now it is a mandatory thing that you have to do before you start flying on VATSIM once you create your membership. So that P1 became what's now called the P0. The original P2 was just a basic point-to-point flight, IFR or VFR, and the P3 was an introduction to VFR flying techniques. And so the P2 and P3 in its old form now constitute the P1, which is very similar to, kind of aligned with a real-world private pilot's license. So old P2 and P3 have become the current P1. The old P4 and P5, which was introductory IFR concepts and then advanced IFR concepts, have now become the P2, the current P2, which is more aligned with the real-world instrument rating. So if you had the P1 through the P5 in the old system, you now have a P1 and a P2 in the new system. It kind of felt a little bit like a downgrade, but again, the current P1 and P2 cover all of that material that was covered under the old pilot rating system. So what they've done is they've now added a P3 course, which is essentially equivalent to a real-world commercial multi-engine rating, and then they've now added a P4, the new P4, which is similar to a real-world air transport pilot rating. So today, so like I mentioned, those who had the P1 through P5, like myself, now have the P1 and P2. They've consolidated and restructured the ratings that you're showing that you have on the network. So recently I decided I was going to come back to VATSTAR as a student this time, and go ahead and pursue those additional ratings that I don't yet have. So that's the P3, which is the commercial multi-engine, and the P4, which is the air transport pilot license. Now, here's the thing. When I came back into VATSTAR's Discord and said, hey, I'm back and I would like to go ahead and pursue these ratings, I feel like the reaction among those who were on the Discord in VATSTAR were kind of like, oh, well, gee, you should be able to knock it out in like 10 minutes, right? You know everything you need to know, don't you? And the reality is I don't. And the reason for that is that the P3 and P4 spend a good deal of focus on emergency procedures, engine out procedures, and things that I, in my sim flying career, have really not simulated. I tend to fly in infallible aircraft with random failures turned off, with the exception being aircraft like this Beach Baron with Reality Expansion Pack. Obviously, the Reality Expansion Pack does simulate failures that can happen if you mistreat the engine. I don't have the random failures engaged still, but it will mess up the aircraft if I mistreat it, and of course the engines can die. And of course, as we've found in some of my live streams, there is still the possibility of consequences for failing to react properly to icing conditions. And we've found that out the hard way a couple of times on stream, once with catastrophic results. But anyway, so the P3 does focus on a little bit more preparation as far as what happens when things go wrong, what happens when you lose an engine, how are you supposed to react if you lose an engine prior to liftoff, but after, before or after your rotation. And liftoff. What happens if you lose an engine mid-flight? What should you be prepared for prior to lifting off if you're in if you're in instrument conditions, things like that. So it involves just a little bit more realistic, real-world what-if preparation for what happens when things don't go as planned. And those are things that I'm not quite accustomed to doing to the extent, to the rigors that are required for a real-world commercial multi-engine. And of course, the VATSIM P3 is still quite a bit watered down from the real-world commercial multi-engine, but it involves a lot more rigorous preparation for that kind of thing than I'm used to doing, just because, like I said, I tend to presume that I'm flying in an infallible aircraft. Checkride, the mock checkride that is listed here on VATSTAR is a checkride that starts from Astoria, and you are to plan a flight to Portland. My understanding is that during the performance of this checkride, we never actually get to Portland, from what I understand. But we plan the flight as though we are going to Portland. So this is the route that I have come up with. And by the way, Astoria has an obstacle departure procedure. So if you're departing in instrument conditions, you do need to be aware of this. This is the Astoria 3. And apparently, I guess we ought to just kind of go to the VFR. We can see that there is some pretty good terrain east of the airport. And if you look at the obstacle heights here, even in the vicinity of the airport, there are a few that you need to be aware of. So in the Pacific Northwest is a beautiful area, but it is kind of very rocky and rugged in some spots. There's all kinds of high terrain in the area. If you're not careful, you can get yourself in trouble. So there is this instrument departure procedure, this obstacle departure procedure that allows you to depart safely to the east without running into terrain issues. And it basically has you climb to an altitude of 2,000 feet or higher out to the north and west of the airfield, which you'll notice on the SkyVector chart is out over open water to some extent. And then you can return to the Astoria VOR, proceed on course eastbound if you're at least 2,000 feet or above. So we'll take note of that. I'm sure that will be part of our briefing with Thomas. This is the ILS returning to the airport that I have it on pretty good authority will come into play at some point later in this check ride. But talking again about the route to Portland, we're going to pick up, let's go to the world below here. We're going to go from Astoria, we're going to perform that procedure, and we're going to end up back at that Astoria VOR. We're going to then pick up the Victor 112 south and eastbound to Battleground, and then Battleground direct to the airport. Now, I filed to Battleground. There's a couple different ways you can kind of conceive your arrival. You typically would, I guess, assume that there will be a Portland approach controller on. There may or may not be on VATSIM, but in the real world, obviously, you would have a Portland approach controller on. But the other thing is, that if we know that the field, if we hover over this, we can see that it's variable at 3 knots. Earlier it was like 300 at 3 knots or something like that. A very light wind coming from the west or the northwest here. The ILS to 28 right into Portland does have a feeder leg off of the Battleground VOR. So even if we were going to need to do a full procedure approach into Portland, our route kind of ends here at Battleground. It does have a feeder leg here published, 37 feet or higher, 3,700 feet or higher for 19.8 miles on this course that would then go out to this point. NACE, we would perform a hold turn in lieu of procedure turn that would function as our course reversal. Would be in this case a teardrop entry that would come out to this side of the hold and then reverse back into the 283, which is the final approach course for the ILS to runway 28 right. So the key point being that Battleground is where my route terminates, but there is a process by which I can transition myself from Battleground to the final approach course without needing to be vectored by the controllers.
Morning.
Hey, how are you, Thomas?
Good, how are you?
I'm well, sir. Good to talk to you.
All right, so switching gears a little bit, kind of reversed roles, but we probably both knew this was going to happen one of these days.
Yeah, well, I've, ever since the ratings got consolidated, I've been very interested in picking up the ones that I no longer, have. I mean, obviously everything that I had was consolidated down to the new P1 and P2, and I knew that at some point I was going to want to come back and get P3 and P4, so it's just kind of taken me this long to set my mind to actually get it done. Okay, so I'm sharing the screen, and I want to just be sure that if I bring stuff over onto, I want to make sure that I'm sharing it properly in the way that if I bring stuff over onto.
All I see is your. Oh no, I got it. Okay, so you have double screens, and you just brought stuff over to the screen. This works perfect with me.
Okay, good. So that way I can go through the route that I've put in and all that stuff.
Yeah. Alrighty. Okay. So tell me a little bit about your aircraft.
Okay. It is a Beech Baron, Beechcraft BE58 model. I will be flying it. It is equipped with a Garmin unit, so technically equipment code FAA-wise would be Slant Golf. But I always fly it on stream as though the Garmin unit is not equipped, so I will be flying at Slant Alpha, and I'll be navigating through steam gauges only. I hope that's okay.
Yep.
What else do you want to know about it? Let's see.
The speeds, if you don't mind. So you're
yes.
So if you go into the cockpit and zoom in on your speed indicator there. What does the red line mean?
So that's the VMC, or minimum control speed, one engine out, minimum control speed, which is 84 knots. 84.
Okay. What happens if you drop below that?
Well, the differential thrust would no longer be overcomable by the controls, so the plane would spiral into a steep bank that would be unrecoverable.
Spin, yeah, not good at all. Okay, so that's the red line, absolutely. What about the blue line?
Blue line is your VYSE, which is your best rate of climb with a single engine, 101 knots in this aircraft.
101, okay. Last question. What's your stall speed flaps extended?
Stall flaps extended, so that's stall. Yeah, I've got the clean stall speed at 80, and then the VSO is 74, which is stall speed and landing configuration.
74, cool. So you were mentioning before your takeoff and landing calculations. I'm not going to ask you to do them, but where would you go and how would you go about finding them? And what factors would affect it?
These.
Those.
Yeah. So so this is from the POH. I got a copy. This is neat.
Yeah, I know.
The full 514-page document.
Yeah, funny anecdote. When I originally did the P2 many years ago for a different organization, I was using the Baron and I was using these tables as part of the written exam.
Yeah, and it's not a very good scan of it, unfortunately. It's obviously it's a photocopy and then a scan, so it didn't come through too high res. But essentially, you kind of start with, and can you see the cursor that I'm moving around also?
Yep.
Okay, so you kind of start with the outside air temperature in Celsius, which, let's see, SkyVector says that the current temp here is 7 degrees. So we'll start with 7-ish here, and the sea level. See, I don't know what how high above or standard pressure we are. Yeah, I know that I know the field elevation. I gotta look to see what the altimeter is 3014. So a little bit higher than sea level pressure. But basically, like this line here, kind of maybe between these two lines. So then you kind of go from and temperatures as well. And I think we're probably pretty close to standard actually. Well, 7 is a little. Oh, wait a minute. The temperature's already factored in. So yeah, we get 7 degrees and maybe a little bit above standard pressure, and then so we kind of take this line here and go to the right, and then we take the weight in pounds, which I haven't done the load sheet yet, so I don't know exactly where we are weight-wise, but just follow that down to whatever weight the plane is, and then take that to the right. The winds was variable at 3, so it's assuming, if it's variable, then it's just kind of take it from 0, but if it's 3 knot, maybe you say it's a straight headwind, then you can kind of follow the line down just a little bit, and then kind of come over and you see that the landing roll was going to, the departure roll is going to be, essentially 1,000 feet, and then if you got an obstacle to clear, you can follow the line upward to, 1,600, 1,700 feet, something like that.
Okay, that's all I need to see. that basically is the check mark there. Yeah, perfect.
All right, very good. And I guess what the end of that conversation should be like, okay, well, what do we have? We got 5,700 feet, we got 4,400 feet. Okay, so we should be good.
We have an issue with icing today, possibly?
Well, let's see. And the temperature is 7 degrees at surface, so that means at 3,500 feet or higher, you have freezing temperatures. But looking at the weather, and I do have layers activated that include icing warnings. Of course, icing is a combination of temperature and moisture, so it doesn't look like there's any precipitation in this area. No icing. Let's see, we got icing warnings out here in the Dakotas, it looks like, but no icing indications for Astoria. But just to be cognizant of freezing temperature starting probably about 3,500 feet or higher.
Yeah, clear skies, so you don't get any moisture there, and the temperatures are nice. So yeah.
Yep. So in case we need it, we do have. Sorry, in case we need it, we do have the anti-icing capability. Sorry, I'm trying to get the view centered there. Do have the anti-icing capability. Of course, the pitot heat's a standard checklist item, regardless. I'm just going to flip this switch. Fuel vent and stall warning heat. I've never used in this aircraft. I don't know if they're actually simulated, but the switches move at least. And then we've got prop anti-icing, windshield anti-icing, and then this is the boots.
Cool. Alrighty, yeah, I was just looking at your exam there. So there's a difference between anti-icing equipment and de-icing equipment.
Oh, sure, right.
Yeah, the anti-icing equipment basically prevents icing, and the de-icing equipment would be that last.
Yeah, would be that last switch over there on the right. So pretty much all these would qualify as anti-icing measures, except for this last one here, which is the de-icing boots for the wings.
Cool. So let's quickly talk about possible failures in air. What would happen? So your pitot tube gets blocked and your pitot heat doesn't help. What happens to your instruments?
Well, there's two possibilities. I think in the sim, it tends to just drop instantly to 0. If it's properly simulated, there's also the possibility that the static pressure, the dynamic pressure would be trapped in there, and your airspeed would just freeze in place and then would move with a change in pressure and as a change in altitude. But I think typically in the sim, it just kind of drops to 0.
Sim is stupid. Yeah, the real world behavior is that your airspeed indicator starts acting like an altimeter.
Yeah, exactly. It'll freeze in place, and then we wouldn't notice a change in it until you start changing altitude.
What's your backup if your airspeed is not reliable anymore? What can you do instead?
Well, as an indication, you could use DME, your DME box if you're tracking directly toward or from a DME station. Obviously, if you're tracking longitudinally or at an angle, it wouldn't be usable in that case. If you had a Garmin unit, like a GPS unit, you could use your ground speed if you could, reasonably calculate or estimate your true airspeed in relation to your ground speed. But the ultimate fallback is just known pitch and power settings.
Known pitch, power settings, listen to your engine, and just get a feel for your plane. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, one last question. You were talking about the static system. So your static port gets blocked. What options do you have now?
Yep. Okay. So that's going to knock out your altimeter and vertical speed, and will also affect your airspeed indication.
What can you do to fix it?
So there is, and I don't. It's modeled here somewhere. There is an alternate static source.
Usually the red little no somewhere. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's yeah. I think it is, or it may be one of the knobs here.
Yeah, I don't worry about it.
Okay, but there is generally a switch in the cockpit that allows you to switch to an alternate static source, and in a GA plane, it is often inside the cockpit. If the cockpit's not pressurized, then it functions perfectly as an alternate static source. And of course, the ultimate fallback is smash through the face of the gauge of one of your static gauges, and that ends up being your static port.
Which gauge?
Well, I guess it would have to be the vertical speed gauge because it's the least necessary one.
Yep.
I remember writing a lot of this training material back in the day.
Of course you did, right? It's just fun having the chat about it. Let's pick a couple of runways. Which runway would you be departing, and which runway can you be expecting for your arrival?
Well, we'll take a peek here. It's 130 at 4. There is a runway 14 here at Astoria, so that'd be the ideal one. Since it's only 4 knots, I think we could probably depart on any one of them. But 1-4 would be the most favorable, aligned with the headwinds here with a 4-knot headwind. Mostly down the center line there, so not too much of a crosswind consideration for a runway 14 departure at Astoria.
Okay, so that we have 130 at 4. Is that true or magnetic heading?
That isn't true. Hold on, no. What's the?
No, you got it.
Yeah. And then if they read it in an ATIS or spoken ATIS is magnetic, and then the METAR isn't true.
So we got the runways. We know the weather. Let's talk. So what route will you be flying? I think that's okay. Astoria, Victor 12, Battleground. Which departure procedure?
Well, there's only one at Astoria, but it's a very important one if you're in instrument conditions because it's an obstacle departure procedure. But it's this one here. So if we're departing, basically we need to head north and west of the airport to have a safe place to climb to 2,000 feet and then return direct to the VOR and proceed eastbound. So off of runway 14 or runway 8. So let's go with
14.
Okay, so we depart on a 139 heading until a minimum of 600 feet. Then we start a right turn. And we intercept the 294 outbound from the Astoria VOR. So we will set, prior to our departure, we'll tune 114.0 and set 294 on the course. Intercept that radial. Once we achieve 2,000 feet, we can start a left turn and return back direct to Astoria VOR, and then we'll pick up the Victor 112 or whatever it is. Yeah, Victor 112, I think, that goes south and eastbound.
Cool. For the purpose of this check ride, what we're going to be doing is you're going to be flying the departure.
Okay.
Once you come back over the VOR, we're gonna do. I'm gonna take you off there. You're gonna go back north, return visually to the airport, do a touch and go at the runway of your choice, and then do a full stop at the runway of your choice. Okay. And we're basically gonna cancel IFR, and you're gonna be flying the rest visually with the proper arrival procedures into the pattern and all that fun stuff.
Okay, sounds good. And we would use, I guess, standard pattern entries, visual pattern entries for whatever runway we choose at that point.
That is correct.
All right, well, I guess then, knowing that, I'll just double check here. No indications of right patterns, so I think we're okay.
Yeah. Alrighty, and then you're going to do a touch and go, full stop, and after we're done there, then we'll proceed with the rest of the check ride, and I'll walk you through theirs. But anyways, that's the first part. All
Okay.
right, let's talk about your arrival into Portland. You have Battleground. Is there any arrival procedure? Or
No,
not
there's
to
not
worry
any
about?
star. I did check. The stars are kind of from further out, so there's really, and I checked even to intercept the star from the closer in points, and it didn't really make sense to worry about that from the direction that we're arriving from. So my thought was to terminate the route at Battleground just because it's on the edge of the Charlie, under the assumption we would most likely get vectors from there. Noted that, of course, we would normally have an approach controller that would vector us to final, but in case we needed it, hold on one second. Needed to release my push to talk so I can zoom that in. But in case we needed it, we do have a 2-8 left, 2-8 right rather, that we can initiate on our own if cleared to from directly from the Battleground VOR. We'd have this this feeder leg that would put us at this point in AC. We could do the procedure, the hold turn, the hold reversal there, and then find ourselves on the final approach course.
Absolutely, your route is cool. What altitude?
So I file 5,000 because it's a pretty short flight, but the MEA along this first segment here is 5,000. Further along, you can go lower, but just 5,000 is a good eastbound IFR altitude. That's what I went with.
Yeah. So how would you do your fuel planning?
So I do a little bit different than many, but I know that the average hourly fuel burn in this aircraft is, hold on a second, is 150 pounds. So I've calculate the trip is 29 minutes, so that's 73 pounds, and then I've added some fuel for taxi out, taxi in, a 5% contingency, and there's the total planned fuel. The total hold fuel is I've added a half hour just as a an extra contingency. Of course, this is all more like airline planning here, but yeah, I use it for the GA planning. So technically, you would need just the trip fuel, the alternate fuel, and then final reserve fuel of 45 minutes. I've filed an alternate of Salem, Oregon, by the way, which is 44.2 nautical miles from Portland.
Let's talk about your alternate.
Yep.
Do we need an alternate tonight? Or
No. So the 1-2-3 rule is kind of the guideline that you use, and so it's within 1 hour of our estimated arrival at Portland. If the ceilings are going to be less than, I forget, I was crossed up the 2 and the 3, less than 2,000 feet AGL ceilings and less than 3 statute miles visibility, then you would need to plan for an alternate. I always like to throw one in anyway, just to have the extra fuel on board. And I chose Salem because it's not too far down the road, and it's got a nice ILS with a 200-foot minimum, so works as an alternate. But and then of course you want to check the weather there to make sure that the weather there isn't going to be below I think 600 feet ceilings for or 600 feet and 3 miles.
602 miles.
602. Okay, yeah. So
and for uncontrolled, sorry, for non-precision, it is
803, or is it 800 still 2?
800 still 2.
Say okay.
That's okay. I always look them up too.
Yeah, exactly. I can look them up. If I looked at it and it was 10 statute miles clear, I'd be like, okay, we're good. And if it was 800 feet and 3, I'd be like, okay, I'd have to look it up and make sure.
Exactly. All right. Okay, so you know the rules for the alternate. You know that we don't have to file an alternate. You file it anyways, which is absolutely cool with me, because the only time you have too much fuel on board is when you're on fire.
Yeah, exactly right. And then Salem, like I said, it does have this nice. Where is it? The ILS, because localizer and localizer back course, which localizer back courses are always fun. But in case we needed it, then we have, like I said, this ILS here.
It has a back course. I haven't seen a back course.
Yeah, I know. It's tempting to try it anyway. But a nice 200 foot above ground level minimum. So I figure worst case scenario, we can get into Salem under almost any weather.
Sweet. Sorry, what's that room? Okay, no, I got it. Yeah.
KSLE. Yeah, if you want to try that back course later on.
Yeah, I might. Alrighty, so when you're ready, you can file and start your pre-checklist.
Yeah, and I do probably couple of things I could have done earlier, but I do need to go through the maintenance report and kind of just page through and make sure that everything is nothing needs to be preheated, or the battery doesn't need to be charged, and all the gauges and avionics are okay, tires, brakes, suspension okay, and we're good there. I will come back to the REP again. We'll go through the weight and balance page. So this is me in the front seat and my baggage in the back seat, so that the center of gravity is within limits. My fuel calculation is 29 gallons needed in each tank, so we'll go ahead and order that fuel and apply. And so when we do our walk around, we'll just need to verify that that is exactly what they've put in it, just to make sure that the kid on the fuel line didn't misread the order or something, anything like that. Okay, so fuel load's done. We'll go ahead and do the third times the charm back into the pre-flight. And of course, I'm going to kind of blow through some of these items that are listed but not really simulated. And as a matter of fact, I'll do the in-cockpit stuff later on. Load distribution and static port, obviously, we make sure nothing's blocked, blah, blah, blah. Check the control surfaces, make sure that they move freely. Whoops. Next. There we go. And there's other things on this list that aren't really simulated, so I kind of just blow through those, but make sure there's no obstructions on all the ports and stuff. Flap is secure. Aileron should move freely. Here's where we check and make sure that we do have 29 gallons, so the little dipstick that we've run down to check the fuel level, make sure there's no contamination, make sure it's the correct color for the type of fuel that we ordered.
Cool.
Pull up the tie down, trucks, oil quantity and quality, so a nice light brown color, doesn't need to be changed at this point. Cover comes off, pitot tube cover comes off, and of course we're checking the condition of the plane as we go around as well. Tires nice and not too well worn. Baggage door should be secured, but we'll secure it after we get back into the plane, so we'll come back to those types of hold items. Again, the quantity and quality of the oil is appropriate. Take the cover off. Trucks, tie downs. Oops, missed. There we go. Again, the quantity on the right side should be the same as what you ordered, 29 gallons, so no contamination, and the correct color for the fuel type. Aileron should move freely, and flap should not move freely, and then we're good to go. And then
What's the color of your fuel type?
the color of the fuel type. It's I guess it's 100 LL, and it's the light blue color.
Light blue color, yeah.
Let's see. So we're back.
What does my follow-up question? What does LL mean?
Low lead.
Yeah.
Okay. Parking brakes checked set, switches are all down, gear handle is down, cow flaps can be opened, battery switch can come on. We will close the door before we start the engine, by the way. Battery switch will become on. I lost my place here. Oh, beacon nav and panel lights, there's 1, 2, and 3. The gear green light should be lit. And they are, and fuel quantity should match what's in the tank, which 29 gallons is, yeah, it's in the yellow there, but it's plenty for what we need for our very short flight today. At this point, we'll go ahead and get the doors closed. So come over here, and passenger door gets closed up. I guess we'd have to close the outside baggage door before we got in the plane. Walk around, get in the plane, close it, secure the main door. Fuel selectors would be set to on. If I can remember how to do that. There we are. The mix and prop levers can go forward. Now I have a single, by the way, I have a single lever that controls both, so we will have some things to discuss when we do engine out stuff. I can, if I leave these full forward, I can move them individually with the mouse, but then I can't move them again. So with the throttle, you'll notice that when we get it later on, we'll pull all whichever ones are failed, and I'll just leave I'll leave the mix and prop lever where they are, but then the throttle will move. So
you're better off than I am, because I have a joystick with a throttle on it, and that's all I use.
Yeah, so anyway, so when we get to that, you'll notice the throttle will go back. The throttle of the dead engine will go back, but I'll just leave the mix and props where they are. So we should be okay there. So mix props forward, we'll start with the right side engine. Throttle goes to full. Prime the pump for a few minutes, watching the fuel flow. Down and off. Go up to about half the handle width. We will clear the prop area. And magnetos, and then gauge starter. Oil pressure comes up right away.
Sorry, which sim are you using?
This is X-Plane.
Got it, thank you.
Okay. So oil pressure comes up right away, and the rest of the temps and pressures are starting to move to the normal ranges, so the generator can come on. And then we'll repeat the process on the left-hand side. We'll run the throttle full, prime the pump, down, back up to about half the handle width, to the prop area, magnetos, starter, and the oil pressure again comes up right away. Generator can come on. Just manually now set the throttle. What in the heck? Sorry. Somebody just followed me even though I'm not broadcasting right now. So, yeah. I guess now is finally my chance to say officially, welcome to the stream, Coma Buster. Thanks for the follow. Now, so it set off my alert.
All good.
It's fine. So we'll set it to just 1,000 to 1,100 is a good warm-up range. Avionics master can now come on, and I always turn off the marker beacon sounds, but in certain approaches I do, would turn those back on. But a lot of times I just leave those off, and then of course, let's see what else. That should be it. We'll check the electric trim, make sure that it's working and is neutral. We would send our flight plan on VATSIM, which I actually already have done, but I'll show you what I filed, which is okay. Got it. Okay, good. I would let's see. The next thing I typically do is get a updated METAR. I like to do it through the pilot client just to make sure it's the METAR on the network. Still saying 130 at 4. 10 statute miles clear, temperature 7, altimeter 3014. So I think we're still going off of 14, and then get the altimeter set for you in just a moment here. 3014 is there. Charted field elevation at Astoria is 14 feet, and I'll cross-check that, and it does indeed match up with what's showing on the altimeter. COM radios will be set as needed, so that means in this case VATSIM CTAF frequency of 122.8. Do a real quick check. There are no controllers on VATSIM in the area right now. Okay, so COM radios are set. There's no clearance to obtain, but we can. We get to power on the transponder, and we'll just 2200 is kind of the VATSIM assigned code if you don't have a controller to assign one, and we'll go ahead and put it into mode Charlie there.
Cool.
Let's see. Nav and ADF tuners set as needed, so this is where I would come back to this departure procedure. We'll set 114.0 and 294. So we'll come down to here, 14.0. Swap that in, and we'll set the course to 294. All right, so there's 300. is 295. There's 294, maybe there. I can't quite tell. Should be close enough. Heading bug, we're going to set to the runway heading of runway 14, or if we don't know the exact runway heading, we'll just set it to 140.
Yeah, what heading are you supposed to fly off the departure?
Oh, that's a good point. It's 139, I think it is. Yeah, 139 to 600. Okay. So 13, so there's 140. Back one click to 139. Okay. So 139 to 600, and then right turn to intercept the radial. Initial altitude. So we're not assigned an initial altitude. I'm going to just say we're cleared to our maintain 5,000, which would have been in our IFR clearance. Obviously, we have to have a minimum of 600 before we make the turn, and then a minimum of 2,000 before we make the second turn. But I'll have those in front of me on the chart. The 5,000 will be I'll put that in the altitude reminder as our filed altitude.
Okay, maintain 2,500.
Okay. All right, that'll be that answers that. I do want to check flap operation. I noticed that in the Coronado that the transit light doesn't work, so we'd follow a middle maintenance report for that. But it does indicate down and approach mode. So we're back, so they work, and then of course you obviously visually make sure the flaps are operating as well. So. That, and then we'll put them back into retracted, and this is not a short field takeoff, so we won't be using flaps for departure. Wheel temps and cylinder head temps should be now in the greens. Wheel's going to slowly make its way back down into the green as the engine warms up, but it's getting there, and the cylinder head temps are still coming up to green, so we should give it a few more minutes to warm up, but we should be fine there. I do want to as we taxi, I'm going to kind of just run the engine up a little bit and just lean to, I don't want to run too much up, but I'm just going to lean it until they drop. That way we can lean for taxi. Okay, there's our drop there. So we'll leave it lean for taxi. That'll reduce the incidence of plug fouling until we get to takeoff, and then we'll set the mix back to full when we do our run up down at the end of the runway. And at this point, taxi light can come on. There. And we are. Just want to bring up a point. First of all, Crafty the Aviator, congrats and good luck on that, man. That's awesome. I wanted to bring up a point real quick before we get into the actual flying, because and especially kind of because Crafty's talking about the difference between what we're about to see here on VATSIM versus what we would see in the real world as an actual check ride. There's two completely different standards, and you'll notice probably contributing to the result here that in the real world, well, let's say on VATSIM, at least in VATSTAR, but probably VATSIM wide, what the examiners are really supposed to be looking for is that you understand the concepts. You get the idea of what's supposed to happen, what you're supposed to do, what the proper procedure is, and then of course you need to execute it. But as long as you really demonstrate a knowledge of and understanding of what you're doing, they'll let little slips go. In the real world, not the case. You need to understand the concepts, but you also need to execute it properly. And I bring that up because it will come into play a little bit later, and we'll talk about that when it comes. But I just wanted to make that distinction before we got too much further in. Pretty much ready to roll. I want to just kind of check before we roll that I have an idea of what we're doing taxi plan wise. I don't have a ground diagram with taxiway letters, but we know we're in this vicinity somewhere, so we're going to be taxiing to the northwest. And I guess if we're going to 1-4, yeah, we'd actually have to do this. Okay, so do you mind if we change the plan and just depart off runway 8?
No, I mean, your wind is right in the middle there. So.
Yeah, the wind is kind of coming that way, so. Yeah, so let's just change the plan for runway 8. So what's that change for us for the departure? 080 and then to 1000 and then a left turn to intercept the radial. And the radial and yeah, the frequency and course doesn't change, but it's 080 initial heading. And that simplifies the taxi plan a little bit.
When can you start your turn?
1,000 feet.
1,000 feet, okay.
So let's, come on, I'm not trying to zoom, I'm trying to. So 080 appears to be there. And then, yeah, so 080 to 1,000 minimum then, and then start to turn. So let's rebrief then the taxi plan, which is a little simpler now. Which is that we'll join the ramp and then kind of to the northwest here, and then we'll depart off runway 8. All right, pre-flight's complete as far as I'm concerned. Are you ready to roll?
Absolutely.
All right, parking brake is off. Astoria traffic, Baron 514 Delta Victor taxiing to runway 8 for a IFR eastbound departure Astoria. Brakes are checked and functioning.
If you had a crosswind coming from your right, what would you do with your controls?
Oh man, I think it's aileron slightly into the wind.
Aileron into the wind, yeah. What about if the wind was coming straight from behind you?
Straight from behind you. Okay, hold on, I gotta remember this. Let's see, we want to deflect it upward, right? So we want to push the stick forward.
Dive away from the wind, push the stick forward. Thank you.
No problem. So this is our hold line for runway 8 off of Alpha 3. So this is where we'll pull the brakes and do our run up. So that's going to be mix and throttles. I'm sorry, yeah, mix and props full, throttle to 2200 RPM, and cycle the prop lever 3 times. So it'll be once, twice, and 3 times. Alright, and then set to 1700 for the mag check. I'm looking for a drop of less than 75 RPMs in either side, so the whistle the engines go slightly out of sync. And then to the second set, back to both, they should recover. Notice I don't use the prop sync, by the way. That would, it's a little bit buggy in this plan, so I don't use it, but obviously you would have it on, but and that reduces the memory items for securing the engine by 1 step later on, but just notice that I don't use it. And so mag check is complete and we are ready to roll. Oh, one additional thing is see, with the 1700 I did forget to check the prop feathering. And you can hear the props kind of slap the air as they feather, so that does work. Okay, now we're ready to roll.
Ready when you are.
Alright. Astoria traffic, Baron 514 Delta Vickers, entering runway 8 for an IFR departure via the Astoria 3, IFR eastbound Astoria. Landing lights come on, taxi light come off, strobe on, and pitot heat on. Visual check, no traffic. Visual check of, whoops, I saw the sign back there did say 8 and 26, but I guess we're not at the end of the runway where the number is. You want to verify that you're on the right runway.
Yeah.
I should have verbally noted that the sign did say 8 and 26, but when I pulled up to it, I think it did say that it looks like we're holding short of 8.
Yeah, no, you're good. I mean, I have visual too.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, the taxiways and runways are a little weird.
A little goofy here, but yeah, you want to definitely make sure you've entered the runway that you think you've entered.
I would have personally, I would have taxied a little further, because you have the area pass behind you.
Behind the keys, okay.
Yeah, that's okay.
All right, we've got, with an expected takeoff roll of 1,700 feet, we've got plenty of runway. All right, so lined up with the runway, and again, the heading bug should align with the runway direction, and it does. So we are ready. I did all the lights and the pitot heat, so we're good to go. We will set our takeoff power, which is 27. I'm sorry, full throttle and 25. Whoops. There we are. And we are. Rotation speed would have been about 85 if I'd gotten on it. Positive climb gear coming up, and pitch for our VY, which is 105. So pitch down just a little bit. And now we're cooking. A little bit above our VY. Astoria traffic, Baron 514 Victor, clear runway 8. Astoria. So 1,000, we can start our left-hand turn. Trying to intercept this 294, so I'm just going to turn all the way around to westbound. Reduce to climb power now 25 and 25. Of course, we're well above 2,000 now. I really, at that point, can turn back in toward the VOR, but I'm going to intercept the radial and be established on it first, and then I'll turn back into the VOR. Also,
yeah, good idea. I just want to see you intercepting that radial.
Yeah, and of course we're leveling off at 25 also.
Autopilot is allowed.
That's for sissies. Go to 20 and 22. 22 and 22 for a cruise. Okay, radio's starting to come in. Starting to come in pretty quickly because we're pretty close to it.
You're very close to it. Okay, intercept, hold a course for about a minute.
Okay, no problem. Cut the turn just a little bit short, so come back out to the left here a little bit.
Maintain 2,500, fly heading 360.
Alright, 2,500 and 360. Speed's looking good. I got it less than cruise just because we're going to stay in the terminal area here, but still making 150, 160 knots. We're not 150 knots here. We're doing good. Actually going to slow it down a little bit.
Okay, airport is heading 1207 miles. Enter the pattern for touch and go.
Airport's 120 and 7 miles. Okay. Baron 514 Delta Victor. We are 7 miles northwest of the field. We're gonna proceed eastbound, then enter a left 45 runway 8. I slipped the altitude, by the way. I've noticed that my altitude slipped. It still shows to be at 2,500. But I'm also going to intentionally then start descending to pattern altitude once I clear the terrain.
There we go. That's the correct.
Yeah. So apologies for a little slip in altitude there, as my attention was diverted. But yeah, so we'll maneuver north and east of the field. Now that we're clear of this terrain here, we can start that descent.
Another reason I love Asturias practice. We got all this water, and you're safe wherever you are.
Yeah, exactly. All right, pattern altitude is going to be essentially 1,000 feet. So I'm going to expedite. Ooh. Pull the RPMs down just a little too much. Actually, I'm going to start working the RPMs up. Help get the speed under control. And then we'll turn in for that 45 to the downwind. Okay, we're into the white arc, so we can start throwing flaps out, but I'll wait until I turn in to do that. Maintain about 120 for right now. There's the town behind us. Okay, so I know where we are. Astoria traffic, Baron 514 Delta Victor is about 6 miles north and east, 1,000, entering a 45 to left downwind, runway 8, Astoria. Going to spin the a little steep. Got focused on that heading bug, and I didn't. That was a pretty sloppy turn.
Yeah, what's your airspeed?
Yeah, I see. Okay, so if the town is there. Oh my goodness. Town is there, so the airport's kind of obscure, but it's over this next ridge to the left here.
What can you do? You don't have a GPS, but what can you do to help you navigate the airport?
Well, there is the Astoria VOR that I could kind of check my bearing, spin that until it centers. So it's there.
Cool.
5.1 miles. Right. Astoria traffic, Baron 514 Delta Victor, 2.5 miles north and east of the field. We're entering a short 45 to the left downwind, runway 8, Astoria. Kind of not really on the 45 for very long, and then we're just going to end up on the downwind. South altitude slipping. Altitude slipping.
Yeah. Autopilot is allowed up until the point where you're in downwind, but that's up to you.
Nah. Can't fly.
Trust me, you're gonna want it later.
Fair enough. Alright, so there we're Astoria traffic to Baron 514 Delta Victor's left downwind midfield, runway 8, Astoria. Flaps 1 are out. Gears out. out to the more proper downwind heading. Astoria traffic, Baron 514 Delta Victor turning left downwind to left base, runway 8, Astoria. Okay, gears down in green, flaps are set, checked. All right, I'm going to stop it here because even though this is recorded, the landing stats pop-up will activate when I touch down here in just a moment. So if you guys want to go ahead, we'll pause the video. We'll accept some predictions as to the vertical descent rate at the moment the wheels touch. Go ahead and put those numbers in. No bot command is necessary. Just a positive or negative number into the chat is fine. We will take that to mean a descent rate either way. And the closest gets their entry into our second monthly raffle. We just heard the Furry Copilot kind of give us the lowdown on those. But yeah, we'll go ahead and take your predictions. I'll just let those predictions come in here for just a moment. Obviously, oh, we got Kareem the pilot with a follow. Very good. Thank you so much for that, Kareem. Good to have you here. Please feel free to jump in on the prediction there. Again, no bot command necessary. Positive or negative number will be taken as a descent rate either way, and we will check on the result here in just a few moments. You can see that I've got white pappy lights and I'm right of center line, so I've got some correcting to do. We'll see how it goes, right? I'll give you guys maybe another 60 seconds. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you 60 seconds, but that's only going to translate to about 30 seconds on stream because of the stream buffering delay. So yeah, we'll say once the stream is an hour, 26 and a half minutes in. So yeah, go ahead and get those predictions in. Yeah, get those predictions in, guys. We'll see how the results go. We got probably by the time you are hearing this, it is last call. But as I sit here, we'll take it for 20 more seconds or so. You know, again, I'm trying to account for the stream buffering delay. As of right now, Dixieland Farm is the last one with the valid prediction we will take. We'll just let that run a few more seconds. Anybody else? Going once, going twice, 20 seconds ago, and gone. Okay. So it looks like Dixieland Farm's prediction is the last one valid for this landing. We will. There's at least one more landing that will be done in the stream. I can't remember. It might even be two. But we'll let it go. All right, so 26 and a half. Okay, yeah, that's well past. All right, we're gonna go ahead and let it run, guys, and we will see how we did. Astoria, the Baron 514 Delta Victor is on about a mile final, runway 8. Astoria.
Aircraft on the runway, go around.
Astoria traffic, Baron 514 Delta Victor, going around, runway 8, Astoria. Okay. Throttles. Leave the gear for now. Get the flaps. Totally forgot that was that. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. When we get on short final the next time around, if anyone wants to revise your predictions, I'll let you do that. Obviously, we don't ordinarily let you revise predictions, but because of that,
Stay in the pattern.
We'll
Stay in the pattern, full stop.
Starbuck, I think we've had this conversation before, man.
And keep the speed at 120.
So I'm starting to wonder whether you're a bot. All right. Anyway, we'll let it run, and I'll stop it again when we get our short final. We can redo the predictions if anybody wants to change their answer. A couple of folks to say hi to. We got that follow just a moment ago from Starbuck 2030. Again, asking me if I'm somebody he used to know. I know I had this conversation with him at some point before. I am not Gavin. I don't know Gavin. The only Gavin I know is 2.5 years old. And then we got some folks. Got that one guy stopped into the stream. Kareem is here. I think I said hi to.
Climb out after a go around.
Commander Kilted Scott back with us.
Oh, okay.
Friend all back with us. Athena Gray one's here.
It's okay.
Dixieland Farm, I know I said hi to. Yeah, no, St. Rock, I completely forgot that we were going to have that go around. So there you go. All right, I'll let it run.
Okay, so we're going to be doing a full stop, exit the runway, but don't taxi anywhere, and we'll set up for the next part.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so there's our downwind heading. Still at 120 at flaps 1. Astoria traffic, Douglas Baron 514 Delta Victor's left downwind midfield runway 8 Astoria. Is it obvious that I fly the Douglas a lot more than I fly the Baron?
Oh, good.
Just a little bit longer. Flaps 2. Add some power back in to account for that additional drag. Altitude ballooned up with the second knock of flaps a little bit, but Astoria traffic, Douglas Baron 514 Delta Victor's left downwind to left base runway 8 Astoria. Gears down in green, flaps set and checked. A little bit high. Should be able to recover it. Alright, let's get ready to pause it again.
Roll out on final about 500 feet, so you're good.
Alright, a little more stable this time. You came for the P4, says St. Rock, yeah. No, I think the I think the P4's got to be a turbojet. That's okay. Anyway, so those of you who put predictions in, you can, if you don't put a second prediction in, I'll just take your first one. If you do want to revise your answer, though, I will allow it this one time only, guys. This one time only, I'll allow revisions. Just because, like I said, we were a little bit right of center line and above Pappy's, and this time we're a little bit more stable. So if you think that changes things, first of all, you're wrong. But second of all, you can go ahead and put in a revision if you would like. Wigglespank is here, yeah. Oh, the DC-6 then instead, says Lee. No, I'm going to just go ahead and go straight up slightly. I'm going to do that with the Flight Factor 757. I mean, I think that the spirit of the P4 actually, just kidding aside, is that it is a kind of a procedural flight with demonstrating your knowledge of the flight avionics. So, you know, very much kind of in the spirit of, you know, magenta line type management, but definitely management of the airplane a little bit more thoroughly than you would as a VATSIM pilot. You know, kind of demonstrating again like this engine out knowledge, monitoring of you know, fuel consumption en route, that sort of thing. A little bit more rigorous than, you know, just a regular VATSIM airline pilot flight rather. Yeah, always change the doors, says Lee. That's right. Didn't Marilyn Vos Savant prove that in her little column? The Monty Hall effect, as they call it, or the let's make a deal effect. Yeah, I'm with you on that, Lee. All right, so yeah, 60 more seconds from live as I sit, probably about 30 more seconds from where you guys are with the stream buffer. But I'm going to let the stream timer run up to an hour 35 minutes, and yeah, so we got a barrage of predictions the first time around. We got some folks that are sticking with what they got. We got some folks that are changing. It's up to you. I will, like I said, will allow it this time around. We got a few folks to say hi to. Wigglespank, I think I said hi to just a moment ago. Yeah, everybody else. No, the single inch stuff comes later, Rich. So yeah, you're all good. Go stay with what you got, Sergeant. All right. Yeah, the single engine stuff comes later. So yeah, still plenty to go here. All right, so 10 more seconds as I sit, but probably by the time I say this, you're behind enough in the stream chat buffer delay that you're past. So we'll take Athena's as the last valid revision, and we'll go ahead and continue in from here. Sticking to that 169, St. Rock. All right, yeah. All right, all votes are in. All ballots are cast. All votes are now locked, and we'll go ahead and resume, and we'll see how it goes. I'm almost certain I actually touched pavement this time. I didn't mean to do that to you earlier, guys. I actually forgot that he was going to command that go around. All right, here we go.
Continue all the way to the end of the runway and exit there. Okay. Yeah, perfect. Just exit here, do the 180, pass the line.
So there you go, guys. 191. 191 was the winning number. And in my defense, he started giving me an instruction right over the numbers, which I felt was a little on the cruel side, but 191 was indeed the winning number. All right, so let's go back through the predictions. And St. Rock started it off with a 169, which is actually very close because that's only 22 away, right? I'll have to look through all the predictions. So 191 to 22 would be 2021, 210. Actually, let me just get the calculator up. So he said 191, 160, 169. So 22 away. So it would have to be between 169 and 213 to be any better than his. So let me scroll through, see if there's any between 169 and 213.
Looking through. I'm into the second round. So Kareem said 210. That's going to edge it out, I think. Kareem says 210. And that was Kareem's second guess, which is the one that we're going to take. Because Kareem had initially said, or did Kareem did get a guess in the first time? I don't think he did. Oh, he did, 286. So 210 was his second guess, but that's now the front runner. So 210. Was it 191? 19? Yeah, because it was 169 plus 22. Yeah, 191. So 19 away is at 210 is now the winner. Let's stick through. Oh, Lee went 188. I think Lee. Right? Lee's going to be only 3 away. Yeah, Lee Meadowlion. Very good. Lee Meadowlion with the Wally Hall logic. Takes the guess there. Good on you, Lee. That's pulling from a lot of different pop culture knowledge to pull that one off. Very good. And we'll go ahead and we're marking these as to which exact landing got you the winning entry. So when we pull this, we'll know exact if you are lucky enough to be the closest guess more than once in the entry. We'll know which entry winds up being the winning one when we pull it. So there you go. Very good, Lee. Excellent job, sir. We're going to go ahead and let this run on. And yeah, Kareem, that was absolutely a phenomenal guess, but you just barely got edged out. But there's another landing coming up later on in the stream, so you can give it another shot. Let's go ahead and play this. Let it roll. Okay. Astoria Baron 514 Delta Victor, clear runway 8. Alright. Ready here?
Yeah, okay. For this next segment, we're going to be simulating an engine failure before YMC.
Okay.
Or VYMC. Okay.
Hold on one second.
Cool. Okay, so I want you to set the weather as well.
Okay.
So we're going to be...
Parking brake. Let me just do a couple cleanup items here.
You bet.
Flaps stowed, landing lights, taxi light back on, strobe light off, and pitot heat.
Weather. I want your tops at 5,000 feet, your base at 400.
This is what. Oh, okay. Here we go. Customize. There we are. Okay. Manually configure. There we are.
Okay, a cloud layer. Add a cloud layer. Top left.
Oh, top left. There we are.
You want to set it to overcast.
Overcast. That's what it is. Okay, so that's what you need. 500, 5,400, and visibility as
3 mile. Let's go into your failures. Engines. Pick an engine. Exact speed. 75.
All right, Astoria traffic, Baron 514 Delta Victor, entering runway 26 for VFR straight out departure to the west, Astoria.
Fix that altimeter. I know you reset the weather.
Oh, yeah. Well, field elevation is 14 feet or something like that. Just set it to about there.
It's a sim issue, so...
yeah, no worries. And then entering the runway, we'll go landing lights on, taxi light off, strobe lights, beacon should be on. Turn that off instead of strobe, I think, earlier. And then pitot heat. Yeah, Rich, right up underneath the
Don't worry about the radio.
DMC, right? And you'll see in a minute how challenging that really is. Okay. Lined up with the correct runway. Runway heading verified. All right. Set takeoff power. Full throttle and 27. Whoa, there she goes. So the throttles are closed and just try and get still stopped in the distance you have left.
Yeah, you're good. Continue to the other end of the runway for sort of to 08 and get your engine back when you want to.
Okay. Man, that was quite a kick.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, this is that weird.
Keep going, keep
Oh,
going, keep going,
okay,
and
gotcha.
just do a 180 at the end of the runway, get your engine back.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, so after takeoff, you're going to be flying heading 040.
Okay.
You're going to be intercepting the 19 DME arc to Astoria VOR DME arc.
Okay.
Climbing to 4,400 feet.
44, okay.
And via the Astoria VOR 19 DME arc, you're going to intercept the ILS runway 26 approach.
ILS runway 26 approach. Well, I probably should have that in front of me then.
You probably should have. And
Alright, I'm going to stop here for just a second because there is a huge edit that's about to come up where we're going to skip about 20 minutes ahead. And the reason for that is, as I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, so this is the Coronado Beach Baron for X-Plane with the simcoders.com Reality Expansion Pack. And because I had the simcoders.com Reality Expansion Pack, man, there's all sorts of like maintenance and upkeep that you kind of have to do to the plane, which we went over at the beginning of the stream. Well, the problem is when I use the X-Plane failures menu to fail that engine, the simcoders.com REP now wants to charge me $35,000 to replace the engine because I have the economy model turned on in the REP. So there was then all these hoops that I had to jump through to kind of disable the economy model, fix the engine, reboot, and then I wound up having to reboot the sim because it wouldn't start back up because of other things that were broken per the REP. So yeah, if you're doing this with the REP, either you want to disable the REP or you want to at least disable the economy model of the REP so that you don't get, charged your pretend fake money to fix the failures that you intentionally fail. So just a little tip, little heads up for you. It says Qualip says, I vaguely recall up to 30 feet lateral excursions permitted in VMCG. Okay, yeah, I mean, I stayed on pavement, and again, we talked a little bit earlier about how the real world standards require knowledge and execution, and the VATSIM standards are a little bit more lenient, whereas if you at least demonstrate knowledge and understanding of the principles and procedures, then they're kind of a little bit lenient if things don't go perfectly. So, we kept it on pavement, and we'll decide. We'll listen to Thomas's comments at the end as far as like what he evaluated the Checkride on as far as determining whether we passed or failed. You need some donated bits, says friend to all. So Sergeant Rock, in the economy model, I mean, in the REP, you can disable the economy model, and then I think if you re-enable the economy model, I believe, don't hold me to this, I believe that it resumes where you left off, money-wise, I believe. So don't hold me to that. The better thing to do probably would be flying in a plane that you don't have the reality expansion pack installed, but then of course you don't get the pre-flight walk around and stuff. And again, Thomas, I kind of went above and beyond with that pre-flight walk around. He said, really just do what you would do to get the airplane flying. He didn't need to see all that pre-flight walk around as in depth as I did it, but it's because that's my normal procedure for this plane. I went ahead and did it anyway. Kareem says, I'm preparing for my PPL check ride. nice to watch what a check ride might look like, even if it's multi-IFR. Yeah, and again, Kareem, you got to, I don't know if you're talking about yours is a VATSIM one versus a real world one. If yours is a real world one, take this with a bigger grain of salt because, like I said, there's a lot of difference between the standard that they hold you to in the real world versus the standard that they're going to hold us to here on VATSIM. So just keep that in mind, guys. Is the engine failure always required, or is it instructor tester discretion? Asks friend to all. For the purposes of the VATSIM P3, you do need to demonstrate that. So the VATSIM P3, and I said VATSIM P3 because even if you're taking the P3 with a different training organization than VATSTAR, it's the same basic standards for the check ride. If you're using two engines, says Rich, you better know how to fly on one, right? And Kareem says his is indeed a real world one. Okay, very good. Yep, very good. Well, best of luck to you. Hope that you'll check back in and let us know how it went. I'm going to restart this, and I'm going to restart this, and then I'm going to duck out of the room and grab a trip to the little pilot's room, and I grab another Red Bull here to drink while we're sitting here watching this together. So if I'm not responsive to the chat immediately after we roll the video again, I apologize. But again, thanks for joining us. This is a previously recorded P3 check ride that we did last Saturday, the 29th, I think it was, of May. So this stream has been a week and a half in the making, guys. Exciting stuff. But we'll go ahead and roll that. I'll duck out, and as soon as you see me check back into the chat, or maybe I'll just give you a wave. Again, if I'm in the red shirt, I'm live, and if I'm in the blue shirt, I'm part of the recorded narration. Friend to all, if I start with one engine, should I change engines in mid-flight? I love it. I love it. All right, guys, we'll come back and talk to you again soon. Enjoy this the next couple moments here while I duck out.
Once you have that on there, you will see the DME arc. We're not going to go up to the initial approach fix. You're just going to intercept the DME arc.
Intercept the arc at wherever. Okay, that's no problem. Yeah. 1095 and 261. So I'm going to set 1095 set in the background, set in the standby. (261) 526 and 261. I'll probably have to change that for the DME arc anyway, but I'll set it back to 261 when we get there.
Questions about the approach?
No, just give me a second to look over it. So we're intercepting 4400, 19, 4000 at 12.8. Missed approach 1500, climbing right turn 2900 back to the VOR. Okay, so that's a very kind of tight right turn back to the VOR, and then the hold if we need it. Hold right turns on a 079, so I can flip that around to 079 if we end up needing that. So frequency and course, missed approach. I'll tell you what, since the missed approach is on the Astoria VOR, we're going to set 114.0 and 079 in the nav2. Just go ahead and just have that just in case we need it. Okay, well, that's just my process. Whoops. I knew how to use this thing. It would be even better. 14.0 and 279. Oh, there it is down here. 079 in case we were to need it.
Yeah, you're nowhere near the minimum on your orders. So you'll be fine, trust me.
Yeah, so yeah, minimums would be 264. Yeah, okay, we're good. I've reviewed the approach.
Yeah, so heading 040 up to 4,400, intercept the DME arc, and once you get on the DME arc, expect clearance for the approach. If you're ready to go, there's one last thing we need to do.
Okay, I am.
Set your failures.
Oh, okay.
Pick an engine.
Doesn't matter. Engine.
No, and set it to fail in 5 minutes.
Set exact time until failure. Okay.
Yes, please. 5 minutes. Okay, and let's go fly.
All right. Astoria traffic. Baron 514 Delta Victor's departing IFR left 45 off of runway 8, Estrella. Good. Oh, parking brake, come off. Center takeoff. Rotate. Flying 105. Gear coming up.
Autopilot is allowed up to the point where your glide slope becomes active.
Okay. Up through 1,000, we'll start the turn. Level, get 25 and 25. Flying power. Range level, I said. And we can still be climbing it. You said 4,400.
Yeah, that's the DME or altitude.
040 is what you said. Oops.
Speed things up a little bit, turn right, heading 050.
Okay. Manifold privilege slipped a touch. We'll get it back up to 25.
Yeah, it tends to do that when you climb for some reason.
Yeah, I know. For some reason, indeed. Down to 22 and 22 on the power setting. Back to 4,400. Still on 050. 19 miles is what we're looking for. Still got a little ways to go yet. I feel dirty about this, but I'm going to go ahead and do it.
Yep. I mean, once you get to P3, it's allowed, and once you get to P4, it is required.
Mandatory, yeah. Well, I'm not going to hand fly an entire airline flight anyway, so. Alright, so we're just gonna take a spin through the engine gauges. Everything's in the greens. 22 and 22 sets on the assigned heading and at the assigned altitude. And we're going to 19 miles. So yeah, we're good for a little bit. .261 is the approach heading. It's like a 074 outbound is the kind of the, whoa, there we go. my airplane. We're going to need to rudder and aileron towards the dead engine. All controls forward. Prop mix and throttles. It is definitely the number 2 that has failed. Pitch to maintain. 44. Secure the dead engine. Yeah, I know the gear's up. Still a little bit uncoordinated here. Might need to practice this a little bit more.
Cough, cough.
Alright, so there's 050. Get back up to the assigned. I'm going to pause it for just a second because I want to come back to that point that I just put into the caption. So, VATSTAR's process is that you, Thomas and I had some of this discussion, but I believe I edited it out of the beginning. But VATSTAR's process is that you have the training material, the lesson material that you read through, and there's some videos associated as well, but a lot of it's mostly reading material and then whatever supplementary videos that they have. Al South is here. You then do a written test, a written multiple choice test that you have to pass, and I believe the passing score is 80% or higher. So you do that as basically as many times as you need to until you pass that, but you have to pass that written before you're allowed to book a practice check ride, or practice flight, really. I keep calling it in the video, I keep calling it a practice check ride. But it was a practice flight, and my intention was to book a practice flight, figure out what I was deficient on, practice those things, and then come back later and do the actual check ride for either Thomas or for another instructor. So I'm operating under that assumption that today's flight is just for practice. Now, what Thomas and I had said at the very beginning was, okay, I see that you've booked it as a practice flight. We don't necessarily require a practice flight for P3 necessarily. So if you are able to perform the flight up to standards, we'll just count it as your check ride. If there's things that we need to work on, then we can, we'll just discuss those things afterward, and then you can book your actual check ride afterwards. So as of right now, kind of back and forth as to whether it's going to be, counted as a check ride or not. So if you hear me mention in the narration, multiple times, like that, hey, I might need to practice this before we do it, blah, blah, blah. That's kind of the operating assumption I was working with at the time. All right, back to it. If you have rudder trim before you start securing, yeah, possibly. I don't know that I have rudder trim mapped to a control on my yoke, so I'm not even sure where it is physically in this virtual cockpit. So probably a good thing to keep in mind. And if you want to be more prepared for this check ride, then having the rudder trim mapped to an easy to get to control, probably not a bad idea. And Rich says, I never touched the rudder trim once during my multi-engine training. And Rich, of course, is talking about real life. So, yep. Does the horizon roll on most HSIs, or do the wings roll? So no, what you're seeing there, friend to all, is the flight director. The yellow bar is the flight director, because I had the autopilot on and I shut it off. What I should have done, and that's one thing that I actually meant to mention, so it's perfect that you brought it up. one thing that I probably should have done when I turned the autopilot off and I made the My Airplane call, I also probably should have turned the flight director off, because it is distracting to have that bar up there. It's giving me guidance, but it's giving me guidance to the mode that I have set in the autopilot. So I have the autopilot set to maintain 4,400 and whatever's on that heading bug. That's what the yellow bar is trying to get me to do. And I've just kind of trained myself to ignore that, because there's so many instances in which, flight director's on, but I'm really not going to. I'm not intending to follow its guidance, because I'm not intending to do what it's commanding. And really the real world guidance is to turn the flight director off if you're not going to use it, because it gives you that extra distraction there. So the artificial horizon is indeed indicating wings level. The yellow bar is indicating that I should be turning left in order to catch up with that heading bug, which, as you can see, is just slightly left of the 12 o'clock position right below it. So good observation, friend. Yeah, and the triangle at the top just is fixed in that upward position. So actually, I think I can still do this. What you have here are the bank indicators: 10, 20, 30, and I think that's 60 degrees. So the white arrow stays fixed in that upright position relative to the airplane, and then the bank indicators on either side, 10, 20, 30, and 60. It kind of indicates how much of a bank angle you're putting in. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and replay it and re-roll it now. Altitude. We got rudder and aileron towards the operating engine. We got the right engine has been shut down. Again, mix and throttle are down. Mix and proper down. Throttle is moving because my other throttle is moving. But we would pull the throttle for the non-operating engine as well, of course. We'll go ahead and secure the. So we did the mix, magnetos. Flaps and gear are indeed already stowed. Cow flap. And fuel selector if I can get to it. Alright, so we're still 4,400, 050, and we're coming up on that 19 miles.
Good. If you're brave, you can use the autopilot, as I said, up to the point where the glide slope becomes active.
Okay, well, I don't know what the autopilot's going to do with the asymmetrical thrust, so I'm probably actually more comfortable hand flying. Anyway, intercepting that. Okay, so we're going to turn to the perpendicular heading now. Want to hear one funny thing, Thomas?
Go ahead.
I got so focused on intercepting that 19-mile arc, I completely forgot that engine was about to fail.
You are not the first one. I found it hilarious.
Completely forgot.
And if my student doesn't forget, they forget which engine.
Oh yeah, I had no. I definitely had to look at the gauges because I had no idea which one I had programmed. And I am turning slightly inbound to the perpendicular course to get back down to that 19.0.
Yeah, I can't really see your DME. What is it?
Okay, 19.6 now. 19.6.
Okay, you're allowed ±1.
Okay. And then
yeah, the timed failure is actually working out quite well.
It's so cool because I was so focused on that arc and how much I love flying DME arcs that it completely slipped my mind that was going to happen. So funny.
Cool.
All right, so there's 19.0, so I'm going to kind of edge it back out to a, 18.9 now, but we'll edge it back out to a perpendicular course.
There's a little line saying LR074 on your chart. What does the LR mean?
What does the LR mean? Good question. I don't know what it stands for, but I know that's kind of like the reference radial that you use to start your turn into the final approach.
Okay. It's a lead radial.
Lead radial, okay. Yeah, so I knew the definition. I didn't know exactly what it meant, but yeah, it's just, the reference point at which you start the inbound turn.
Absolutely.
So 074, so that means it's going to be, of course you can look at where the tail's pointing, that's the cheap way to do it.
Or I usually just set my OBS to that, and once it centers, then that's when I start my turn.
Yeah, well, of course, I'm using the OBS right now to maintain track of the bearing to station. But
Then
what I may do is set the heading bug over to 074.
What's your nav2 sitting on?
Nav2's set for the missed approach in case we need that.
Okay. Yeah, so I would probably use the nav2 radio to set the lead radio.
Yeah. All right, so 074. So that's going to be a 254.
Either one.
Yeah, I'm just going to use the heading bug.
Cool. What's your altitude?
45, yeah. Let's slip back down to 44 here. So there's 25. There's 254, and it's there. And we're slightly outside of the perpendicular because I'm at 18.6. So I'm going to just let that scoot back up to 19.
Okay, what's your inbound
Oh,
viewer?
Oh, am I beyond? Hold on 1 second. Yeah, did I already pass it? Shoot.
Yeah,
I flip, shoot. I'm nav 2 to the, okay, I've missed the localizer. Back to see the distance. Actually, I'm going to pause it here for just a second because I want to kind of discuss what we just saw. The pretty egregious mistake that I just made there. Yeah, that Thomas, it was fairly obvious after the fact, St. Rock, and we discussed it as, obviously we discussed it as part of our debrief afterwards. Skate JH is here. How long was the check ride? So in reality, the edited version of the video that I'm going to post up to YouTube, that without the commentary that we're doing tonight, wound up being 1 hour and 45 minutes. I think in actual practice it was 2.5 hours, but some of that was just chit chat, Thomas and I catching up. Some of it was just more discussion about the training and testing material. So there was some stuff that I snipped over. And then obviously there was pieces of the pieces of the flight that I snipped over if we are, we're just progressing straight forward and stuff like that. But I think it took me about 2.5 hours to actually execute, and probably could have been done in 2:15 maybe. Yeah, so here's what happened. What's the best way for me to demonstrate this? Let's actually get the approach up in front of me and talk about what we just saw. And then I'll yeah, let's get the ILS 26 up here. Yep. So what Thomas had me do, just for the exercise of the flight, was he had us depart from Astoria, and we departed eastbound. And he had me fly kind of just a 050 or 040, and then I think he changed it later to a 050, so maybe something out like this. So we're intercepting the arc not at the initial approach fix, which was way back that way, but we're intercepting the arc at just kind of wherever. And so we had kind of discussed that, and I knew that that was the case initially. We already talked about how I got so caught up in the fact that I was going to be intercepting this 19-mile arc that at some point around here I completely forgot that we were going to be losing an engine. So again, focus issues and attention issues already kind of manifesting themselves in one regard. Then I get so focused in flying the arc that I completely lose sight of the fact that I'm supposed to be turning into this final approach course of 261. And Thomas was talking about the lead radial here, which in an ideal world is the radial that you use to kind of start your turn in to join that course. And, you might have seen the caption earlier where I was talking about once I flipped the the OBS to track, I had it preset to that course there, and then I had to change the setting to set the bearing 2 station so that I had my perpendicular reference to fly the arc by. But at that point, I should have set the heading bug to 261 and reminded myself where that final approach course was. And then you'll hear me later, once we get down on the ground, I was talking about where I did set the heading bug finally. For some reason, I was thinking that the heading bug was the direction I was going to be facing. So I was actually planning on following this arc another quarter arc around the circle for whatever reason. Not that I thought that the approach came in from the south or anything like that, but just because I wasn't kind of conscious of where I was along the arc. And I was just thinking about, this is the radial, and so that's where the heading bug is going to point me. This is what it would have done had I done that, and I would have been very, very wrong. As it turns out, the conversation, it finally clued me in enough, and honestly, it was seeing the terrain there that reminded me, oh goodness, I think, we're in trouble with some terrain here. That was what kind of really clued me in. Seeing that terrain peek up through the cloud tops there was what finally clued me into the fact that I was passing that final approach course. And this is what I did. I made a 180-degree right turn and came back to it. When I did, the point there that I intercepted was approximately 17 miles DME. Okay. The point where I finally got on the final approach course. And then I started descending from 4,400 down to 4,000 at that point. Now, there's something to be said for which way you're supposed to turn the plane when you're single engine. And that is something that I wasn't really conscious of. It's not something that I've studied. I know that there's some logic as to when you have an engine out, you're supposed to kind of make turns either toward the engine that is out or away from the engine that's out. And I don't know the answer to that. Probably some of you in the chat do, especially those of you, a couple of you that have real-world experience multi-engine probably know the answer to that question, and I do not. So I don't know if the right turn there was the appropriate thing to do or if it was the wrong thing to do from the standpoint of which engine failed. However, the better thing to do, I think, in this case, once I realized that I was beyond the arc, was probably to turn outside. Because what happened was, I therefore became in danger of terrain encroachment in this area here while I was making that 180-degree turn. And I think it's cut off here, but I think it's 4,600 is the altitude that you should be at. Yeah. So as I'm at 4,400 inside of that arc and not yet established on that final approach course, I probably was in terrain encroachment danger as I made that turn inside of the arc rather than outside of the arc to re-intercept that final approach course. So I don't know if this probably was the smarter option, and this was the one that I chose. So again, we'll kind of talk about that once we get down on the ground, and again, but you have to mitigate. That looks a little. Sorry, don't look at that, kids. So there's the other discussion is which way are you supposed to turn with an engine out, and I don't know the answer to that. Multi-engine guys that are in the chat here probably know the answer to that. I do not know. Wouldn't the correct answer be to abandon the approach? Yeah, really, probably. In all honesty, now that we have a little bit of a saving grace here, St. Rock, because we do have the arc on either side. So if I'm at least at 4,400 along this arc, I'm safe, right? So, and you do get the other thing I was thinking, possibly, because you do get a mile on each side, right? You do get a mile tolerance on each side where you're kind of guaranteed obstacle clearance. So what I could have done was cut in toward the arc to about an 18 and then cut out. And that way I would constantly be between 18 and 20. And so that would have guaranteed me obstacle clearance, I believe. But that's not what I chose to do. I chose to just turn in, and by the time I caught up with it, I was about 17 miles in. Fortunately, it didn't end up hurting me terrain-wise, although certainly in the real world that would have been a pretty egregious and possibly costly decision there. So just keep that in mind, guys. All right, we're gonna go ahead and roll it on. So we're 17.2. Yeah, so I really kind of botched that, didn't I? Okay, should be on 261. Okay. And inbound from 19, we can go to 4,000. Okay, and then a 12.8 should be at 4,000. And that's when we'll intercept glide slope. There's 12.8 and 4,000.
The last capture was kind of a joke. As far as I know, my altimeter setting was accurate. I was really thinking that, though.
Yeah, I get below the white arc. Flaps 1. I want to approach no slower than 100 knots. We don't do flaps 2 until landing is assured. Sorry, I'm gonna interrupt to say one more thing here. If I can get my face back up here. I'm gonna interrupt to say one more thing. I don't want to I don't want to draw this out too long. But at this point, one thing that I had not anticipated, and again, keep in mind, I thought that this was a practice flight for a later check ride. So I hadn't really done a lot of single engine flying just to get a feel for the physics. This was when I was going to do some single engine flying to get a feel for the physics. At this point forward, though, one thing I had not really considered ahead of time is that with the asymmetrical thrust, it becomes very helicopter-like in that when you add power, adding power adds yaw, right? In a helicopter, and those of you who have done some sim flying in helicopters, you know that every control you adjust affects your movement on every other axis too. So every control you adjust, you have to also add a counter correction in another control. And flying the Baron became very much like that. Every time I tried to add power, the plane wanted to kick over to the right because the thrust was coming from the left. And it didn't really occur to me until it happened a couple times, and you'll notice that my adherence to the ILS is kind of back and forth, and it's because I wasn't really conscious of the fact until it happened a couple times why my yaw control was kind of all over the place. And so had I been conscious of that, and I think prepared for that, and thinking of it in terms of, oh, it's kind of like a helicopter, every time I add power I'm going to have to correct left, then I think it would have gone a lot more smoothly. But just keep that in mind, guys that are preparing to do this P3 check ride. Keep that in mind. And whether it's left or right will depend on which engine has failed. But certainly, when you add power, you got to be ready to correct toward the powered engine. So there you go. Time I throw in power, it wants to kick over to the right, and I'm not ready for that. There you go. I just figured it out. Well, I mentioned it. Doesn't mean I figured it out. A lot of trouble. Another really good example of why that flight director should be off, because it's trying to get me back to that heading, and it's not really directing me toward what I should be doing with the airplane. So again, I really should have just turned that flight director off. Every time I kick the power in, it just wrenches it out of my hand. We're well below glide slope at this point. trying to climb. I'm trying to just level it.
It flies weird with one engine out.
Yeah, man, it does. Oh, a couple of the red. Astoria traffic, Baron 514 Delta Victor, 3.5 mile final, ILS 26, Astoria. Chasing that localizer so bad.
Back in 1 minute.
All right, so at this point, I got visual with the runway, 500 feet. Pretty much on center line, slightly below glide slope, but in visual contact with the pavement. Let's go ahead and get your predictions. And by the way, this is not another tease. This is going to be a touchdown here when we get up to the pavement. So we'll go ahead and take those predictions. Again, I'll give you guys, what about a minute or so to get those in. Just a number, positive or negative. We don't need to use a bot command. Just a number into the chat representing the vertical descent rate the moment the wheels touch the pavement here, coming up in just a second. And we take the closest one without, that's not closest without going over. It's closest in either direction. And you guys can, like I said, just put those predictions in. We'll give a few minutes for those. So I got the ticket all ready to go. Just need to put someone's name on it. Whoever ends up closest to the actual, and the actual will pop up just above where my face cam is. Give you guys probably another 45 seconds from now, but as I sit, but that's probably another 15 or so seconds, for, depending on where you are, because of the stream buffer. So as you hear my voice, you probably need to be typing your number in if you don't have it into the chat already. Okay, we got Qual up at the 120, Sergeant Rock with the 195, Downwindson 150, St. Rock is sticking at 169, Kareem says 179, Dixieland saying 95, Friend All 180, Northwest is 112, Obsolete Pinky. By the way, I don't know if I said hello to you, by the way. I know I've seen you here before, but welcome back to the stream tonight. I don't know if you said hi to you earlier. We got Richard Peak with the 170. And what is that? Cosmo Kid. Cosmo Kid, welcome to the stream. Glad you're here. And appreciate you stopping by tonight. So, yeah, last call, guys. Cosmo Kids 164 is going to be the last one that we take, I think, is the valid, unless it comes in right now. But, yeah, we're going to call that one the last call then. All right, very good, guys. Let's roll it on and see how we do. Oh, and Govier just stopped in and said hello. Govier, welcome to the chat. We're watching my P3 Checkride, which was recorded last Saturday a week ago. We're watching the result of it and kind of critiquing it as we go along. A couple of key mistakes that we made there earlier in the ride, and we'll kind of see how the rest of it goes from here on in. And here we go, guys, the exciting conclusion.
back. Bad timing, but had to get that out of garden.
You ducked out just as I broke out of the clouds.
I figured as much. That's cool.
Yeah. Alright, second notch of flaps coming in. Landing is going to be more or less assured at this point.
Yep.
I don't know how good a landing is going to be, but it's assured.
Alrighty, taxi to parking. Shut her down and we'll have a quick chat.
Okay, sure. Oops. Yeah, I knew the result coming up, so I knew before it happened which one of you was going to win. All right. Landing lights, taxi light, strobe.
Yeah, you struggled the whole way down.
Yeah, I did. Well, first of all, I'm mad at myself for missing the turn in on the final. I didn't realize we were as close as we were to the final approach course. So situational awareness there was really, really not good.
I was sort of trying to hint about the lead radial and.
Yeah, and I was, so I knew what it was, and I said it, and then I was thinking for some reason I was thinking that I kept the way I said it that was going to be the heading that I was facing. So I was like, oh, we still got a quarter of the arc to go. No, we didn't.
No, you didn't.
Okay.
There was one more thing. Shut her down. There was one more thing I did not like on the approach, and we'll talk about it.
Sure.
But I am gonna pass you.
Okay. You don't have to. If you think I ought to repeat it, I don't mind that. I can take it like a man.
It was stable. It was just a couple of things I did not like.
Yeah, well, the approach stability was way off. The pitch control was terrible.
You were within our required margin, so we allow half
deflection.
Half deflection up to the point where you have visual, and you didn't lose the half until you did have visual, so I was cool with that.
Okay.
It was stable. It was safe. One thing we need to discuss. So shut her down.
Yeah, gotcha. All right, let's. All right, parking brake, taxi light, and I know what you're going to say. By the way, it's going to be airspeed related.
No, your airspeed was still okay. It was something else. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. I'll stop guessing then. I'll wait for you to tell me. But just give me 2 more seconds here. Let's see. So parking brake, taxi light, transponder, trim. Avionics. Oops. Avionics is that one. Mag check. Auto's closed. Nope, not that one. This one. And then that one. Magnetos off. Selector off. Now flap off. Nope, actually closed is up. There we go. Nav and beacon. That. All right, hit me.
Want to disconnect first?
So, yep, sorry.
Cool. Okay, so when should you be extending your landing gear?
Okay.
You basically cannot extend your landing gear until your landing is assured.
Oh, really? Okay. So
Yeah.
I knew that flaps 2 doesn't come out until landing assured. But okay, so I see what you're saying. So you'd have to, if I was to have to do a go around, the gear would need to be retracted, stowed.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
and with one engine out, and there might be a hydraulics problem, and that gear might not want to come back up. So you
Gotcha.
might be in big trouble if you're trying
Okay.
to go around.
I hear what you're saying is that you're going to call it a pass anyway, which
Yeah,
I do appreciate. But yeah, I'll go back and review the notes on that one.
we've caught this a few other times.
Mm-hmm.
If you I sort of put a little check in my notes, and
Mm-hmm.
if everything else is okay, I usually let it pass. If there are other marginal things, like your needle goes back and forth or you're not stable, then it becomes a major issue. But yeah, you overshot the localizer. As I said, I try to help you out. You caught it, you corrected, safely, quickly. So I'm good with that one. Okay, yeah, we can see the nice little correction there. Yeah. Personally, I probably wouldn't have tried to intercept so aggressively, but it worked out. So because
Yeah.
you overshot it again and then he came back out.
Yeah, well, yeah, right. The
Cool.
second overshoot wasn't too bad, but it was definitely there.
Yeah, so probably trying to come back at a 90-degree angle might not be the greatest idea, but
Yeah, I know. But
all
I
good.
also I knew that there's some terrain here, and I wanted to still be as close to that 19 arc on when I was coming back until I had terrain clearance coming in. So
Yeah,
that was the logic behind it, at least.
yeah. Hence why we intercept the arc on the north side, because on the south side
Yeah,
you
yeah,
don't have terrain.
exactly. Right. No, we were right over top of that. But believe me, I was looking at those, going, is my altimeter set correctly?
Yep. It was good. It wasn't flawless, and no one really is used to flying a single engine
Yeah,
ops
no,
on a
certainly,
twin.
yeah. Unless like I said, today was really more. My expectation was that this was a practice check ride. So the fact that it's a pass today is welcome news, and of course, I absolutely respect your feedback. So
Yeah, and as I said, we ran through the scenario. You were within the margins. You were
okay,
within our tolerances. So congratulations on a P3. Hope to chat with you soon again for the P4, and you should have something in your mailbox in the next 10 minutes. Okay.
all right, very good. Hope I didn't hold you up too much. Thank you very much for the time. Good to
Oh,
talk to you
you're
again.
welcome. Good chatting with you. Take care and have a good long weekend.
Thank you. You too. All right, back with you guys, and let's switch back up to the other view here. Yeah. So here's what Thomas was saying. Was that single engine climb performance in a twin with one engine out is sufficiently poor that that the additional drag from the gear being extended would cause you not to have sufficient climb performance to achieve the go around. So that's why Thomas is saying, and I didn't catch this in the notes that I reviewed prior to taking the written, although I will definitely admit I skimmed through them pretty quickly. And I definitely saw there was mention of the fact that you only go to that flaps 2 setting or the full flap setting. So in the Baron, it's 2 flaps. You got approach and full. So it's flaps 1, flaps 2 is kind of the lingo I use. Flaps 1 is the approach setting. Flaps 2 is landing setting. So I just call it flaps 1 and flaps 2. But in the Baron, you go to flaps 1, but it definitely said in the notes that you wouldn't go to your full landing flaps until landing was assured. Again, kind of because of that climb performance issue. So what Thomas was saying was that the gear is kind of the same thing. If you needed to do a go around, you definitely did not want to have that extra drag in, and because you had an engine inoperative and you might not have full hydraulic pressure and whatnot, you might not be able to get the gear up anyway, and then you'd be stuck with that extra drag, and you might not have sufficient climb performance to do the go around without either without spinning, without dipping below VMC and spinning. or not having adequate climb performance to clear obstacles on the departure end or what have you. So that's the logic behind what he was saying. Dixieland Farm says he almost got dinged up for the same thing. And I presume he did this through VATSTAR as well. Rich was saying that the smaller twin pistons, such as what we were flying, a single engine go around shouldn't be even considered. So the gear and flaps consideration don't even really apply because you're not going to do a go around. Period. That's interesting, Rich, and I would love to if you I don't know if you're on our Discord, Richard Peak. If you aren't, I would love to have you over there, and we can kind of talk that out a little bit more in detail because I would love to know. Not that I'm ever going to do it in the real world, but I pursue this hobby obsessively, and kind of try to do things as realistically as possible and with all the knowledge that I can. And I don't always achieve that. I am a sim pilot after all. There's certain liberties that we always tend to take in the sim that we don't take in the real world. So, but again, I do try to at least have the knowledge to know when I'm deviating from real world procedures. So I'm certainly interested to kind of find out more. You're already task saturated on the landing. Yeah, indeed, indeed. So that's the end of it, guys. You heard Thomas say that he did consider it a pass, and his characterization of it was, I think, was spot on. He said it wasn't flawless, it was good. It was good, but it wasn't flawless. And I completely agree. And I was actually fully prepared again to take that practice check ride, take some notes, practice a few things, especially with the handling of the plane. And repeat it to do it for the actual check ride. But he considered it good enough to call it a pass, and so I certainly appreciated it. And again, those of you who joined late, different standard in VATSIM versus the real world. In VATSIM, I think the standard really is just demonstrate that you understand the principles and the procedures, and at least the key memory items and the key steps. In real world, you not only have to demonstrate that you know the stuff, but that you can flawlessly execute. Maybe not flawlessly, but can adequately execute the stuff. In addition to knowing how it works and what you're supposed to do. So, yeah. So, good discussion, guys. Yeah, Dave, thanks very much for the congrats. I'm pleased to say that I do have the P3 now, and I am going to continue on the P4. I'm not in a hurry to do that. I've got I'm going to be away next week, which we'll talk about in just a few, and then I've got a whole bunch of good stuff that I want to be doing in July. I really want to progress along with this Douglas Overseas series. I want to try and kind of get to the point where we can wrap that up before too late into the calendar year, and I really want to also to push on with the Austin virtual air DCCs, wings over New England training flights. Plus, as St. Rock mentioned earlier, not only do I want to also go for the P4 and get back to the point where I have all of the VATSIM Pilot Ratings that are available that I did prior to the restructuring, but we talked at the beginning about how that became null in the case. So I want to get back to that P4, but again, St. Rock mentioned that it would be probably a good idea to go ahead and do demo rides for the P1 and P2 as well, which will be a little bit quicker for me because I won't have to go through the written test and stuff. I can just kind of skim through the check ride specs, have book a time with an instructor, and go ahead and do it. Yeah, but thanks to everyone who stopped by. We got 2 entries into the landing rate raffle. Dixieland Farm, by the way, was the winner there. And it was kind of funny. After all the votes came in, I knew it was going to come up 44 because I remembered that. I didn't remember the earlier one. I knew it was a little higher, a little firmer. But this one I specifically remembered was 44. Remember, I did this a week and a half ago, but then I also spent some time kind of editing the video together. So I remembered that number 44, and I knew it was going to be much lower probably than everyone expected. It certainly was much lower than I expected, so I kind of anticipated the fact that whoever had the lowest guess was going to be the winner. So I actually had pre-written out Dixieland Farm's name just after touchdown, and I already had it up to show everybody. And then who was the only one? Lee Meadowland, I think, was the Lee Meadowline was the one that got the earlier one. So very good. So you guys are now entered into the landing rate raffle, and I think we've caught up with all of the channel point raffle entries as well. So 2 concurrent raffles happen on this stream. If you're new to the stream, you can enter raffle number 1 by redeeming 1,000 of those Twitch channel points, those alphabets points down there at the bottom of the screen, and you can redeem those, like I said, in chunks of 1,000 for one entry, or if you save up to 5,000, you get 5 entries. We are going to do the drawing on June the 23rd, so you've got a couple weeks. Is it exactly 2 weeks from today? You've got 2 more weeks? Yeah, 2 more weeks from today. We do this drawing once a month, so June 23rd will be our drawing. We'll pull a ticket from that fishbowl. We'll also pull a ticket from the second fishbowl, the one that Lee and Dixieland got their entries into tonight. So these are the prizes that are up for grabs, guys. The t-shirts that are over my right shoulder are the white t-shirt and the white with black trim, both Slant Alpha logo. Those are for sale on our merch store, our Redbubble merch store. Free. Well, Pilot gives you the lowdown on that every so often. I won't bother you with that, but exclamation point merch if you really want to know. But the plain black t-shirts with the Slant Alpha logo are up for grabs if you're one of our raffle winners. If you want the white trucker cap, that's available as well. The mouse pad, this is mine. It's a little dirty, but I've got a clean one that's stored, wrapped and stored. So Slant Alpha mouse pad is yours if you like that, or if you don't want any of my crap, that's fine. Won't hurt my feelings in the least, especially if you're new to the stream or just happen to pop in and become one of our winners. Won't hurt my feelings in the least if you opt instead for a $25 gift card to either Amazon or the xplane.org store. So there we go, guys. All right, so we are off schedule coming up here in the next few. So let's talk. So Friday the 11th, I was originally planning on doing a couple more of those Boston flights, those Boston Wings Over New England training flights. We since then have gotten the Friday night ops event published, which let me go over to the That USA calendar. The time I made the schedule, it wasn't. Yeah, it's this one here, the trips. So we're going to probably change the schedule up and do some flying in kind of the Midwest there. Dallas, Fort Worth, Chicago, O'Hare, and Atlanta are the 3 featured fields. So that's going to be the kind of the RTCCs in the center: Atlanta, Dallas, and Chicago. So we've got lots of good options as far as places to fly for the Friday night ops event this coming Friday, 2 days from now. So that's we'll change the schedule up. We'll do some general aviation flying in and around Bravos, probably in and out of satellite fields. Probably won't try to land, a single or a twin right in the thick of the big class Bravos and tangle up ourselves in the jet arrival stream. So won't do that to the controllers. But we'll see if they can get us in and out of some of the smaller general aviation satellite fields that are around these metro areas. Not sure which one we'll do. I'll tell you what, all 3 of these, Atlanta. We've done. We might end up in the Chicago area, guys, because we've done a good amount of flying in Atlanta, in the satellite areas in Atlanta, and a good amount of flying in the satellite airports in Dallas. So I think we might end up closer up to Chicago. Now we're going to be back in Chicago for our anniversary stream, and we'll talk about that probably coming up here in a little bit. But going to reenact one of our earlier streams on Wednesday the 30th, which will be our 3rd anniversary bash. But anyway, so that's June 11th. We'll be up in the Chicago area doing some GA type stuff. And so that's not what's written on the schedule now, but I'll try and get that corrected for you tomorrow. So you can at least see that coming, and we'll pump the Wings Over New England flights back. Monday the 21st, then, we were going to do our Douglas Overseas trip from Dubrovnik over to the 2 stops within Italy. However, we bumped last Monday, 2 nights ago, we bumped our Douglas Overseas flight back for, I don't even remember what we wound up doing 2 nights ago. My memory's that short. But we did decide to, we did the Bush Hooligans flight, anyway, so we'll do that Douglas Overseas flight on Monday, the 21st, that we were going to do last 2 nights ago. We'll be departing from Macedonia in Greece, and then we'll land in Tivat, Montenegro, and then Dubrovnik, Croatia. So that's now on the 21st. And that, by the way, I've skipped over the next week, but the next week, 14th and 18th, I will be out of town. And one of the things I'm going to be doing while I'm away is attending the Ocean City, Maryland Air Show. So we'll take lots of video and pictures of that, and I'll probably edit that together for you and post that up to the YouTube channel as well at some point. So, all right, that does it. If you want to know what's coming up in the short term on the channel anytime, go ahead and pop into our Facebook or Twitter pages, and we kind of give you a little bit of heads up as to what's coming. We also got that full show schedule that's published down below the About tab. Again, as I just mentioned, I have some modifications to make to it. But we'll do that at some point tomorrow, so we can revise that and let you know what's coming up on the channel. That schedule also posted, by the way, on our Discord server and on our Facebook page, so lots of different places you can see what we're going to be up to coming up on the stream. We have, as I mentioned, our Discord server. Jump in to that and join the discussion anytime. Ask questions about anything that you saw, or just shoot the breeze and say hi, or there's a channel for tech support. There is going to be a channel, by the way, for Flight Sim Expo attendees. So if you are attending Flight Sim Expo 2021 in San Diego, September 24th and 26th, there's a special channel over there that we'll let you into. Just let you know privately that you are going to be attending, and we'll let you into that channel. And that channel probably isn't that useful right now, but as it gets closer to Expo, we'll definitely coordinate meetups and such. I'm going to be there in town in San Diego from Thursday to Monday, so there'll be plenty of opportunities to grab a drink and a burger, or whatever it is that you want to partake in while we're out there in San Diego for Flight Sim Expo. Again, flightsimexpo.com is the place to get additional details on that event, the North American premier Flight Sim conference. Flight Sim conference. Bring you as much of that as we can here live on the stream. Can't bring you the meetings and seminars and stuff in the seminar room, but we'll bring you lots of stuff from around the exhibition hall, as well as some of the after-hours stuff. So stick close to the channel that weekend if you're not able to attend. We'll put you there anyway. YouTube channels over on the lower left-hand side. We will be uploading, by the way, tonight's stream with the commentary and chat and stuff. And we will also be uploading the clean, unblemished version of what you just saw over on our YouTube channel that you have access to starting on Friday morning. So whether you want to see that check ride kind of undistracted, you got that opportunity, or if you want to replay any of what we talked about tonight, just because of the additional conversation and commentary, might be useful or insightful to you. You'll have your choice of either, both versions, with and without the extra commentary. Will be up on the YouTube channel starting on Friday morning. So we'll get those taken care of for you. All of our old flight broadcasts are over there, and as well as some useful VATSIM tutorials, semi-useful, moderately useful VATSIM tutorials in a separate playlist called VATSIM Tutorials, oddly enough. We've also got the aforementioned Boston virtual ARTCC wings over New England training flights that we're progressing through as best as we can to archive over there in a separate playlist if you are considering doing those training flights. And I always advocate that any of you, regardless of your level of experience, do any of these training programs that VATSIM offers just for the personal enrichment, even if 90% of it is stuff that you know already. Two things. Number one, it never hurts to practice that stuff. And number two, the 10% that you don't know, or that has changed since the last time you did a training program, is worth it, is well worth it. So always seek out those training opportunities when you find them, is my advice. Also gives you something to do. If you're tired of flying to the same 25 airports, gives you something else to do. All right, guys. Well, thank you again for being here. We will see you on Friday from the Chicago area. Meantime, let's see who we've got that we can kick the stream over to and let you enjoy some more VATSIM stuff. Oh, it looks like, you know who we haven't? Let's keep the theme going. Guys, we will send you over to our friend Dave Rendon. He is another member of VATSTAR. Matter of fact, he is the HR representative of VATSTAR, so he's the one who takes care of approving your accounts once you guys go over there to vatstar.com and sign up. And he does a lot of general aviation flying, and he is a big enthusiast and advocate for VATSIM training as well. So we'll go ahead and send you over to him. He's looking up some charts right now, but he's only about a half hour into his stream, so I'm sure he's got lots of flying left to do. So do stay tuned and give our friend Dave some love and support. He's a wonderful advocate of the stream, and a wonderful advocate for VATSTAR. So we'll hope that you enjoy what he's about to do for you tonight. So do stay tuned for that, guys. And again, we will see you Friday from Chicago. So in the meantime, enjoy the rest of your week. Be safe and healthy in your own travels and your own adventures in the meantime, and we'll talk to you then.
flying for Pan Am, when I was flying at Pan Am for my student, we were